Hi, you guys. I hope you enjoyed playing with this over the past couple of days. I know that this normally I would have had out in the morning. I actually did some things where I did a couple of rows of pearls, a couple of the Tunisian simple stitch, and then I did a pearl, um, the reverse stitches here, and then I did a couple where I did Tunisian simple stitch, pearl, and the reverse stitch. And then I played a little bit more where I did a couple of stitches on this end for Tunisian simple stitch, the pearl stitch, Tunisian simple stitch, and then the pearl stitch. And then I came back, and after a couple of rows I changed that up to where it was the simple stitch, pearl stitch, simple stitch, pearl stitch, and then pearl, simple, because I was just playing with it and seeing where it could go. Now the next two stitches that we're going to learn, and this is going to be a pretty short one because don't need a whole lot to get to these stitches. And get that out there because I let loose of that. Again, working around the camera. Hot sensation, come on. And then through that this next one stitch that we're going to learn is actually the knit stitch. Now the knit stitch makes a real nice, thick fabric. And with the knit stitch, you will notice that here is the first vertical bar, and there is a back vertical bra. And that there is a back vertical stitch, and basically you are going to go through those stitches to create the knit stitch. You're going to go through it and under the bar, through, under the bar, pull up a stitch. You want to pull it up. You'll go into the next one between the two vertical vertical bars, and you're just going to pick those stitches up that way. And that's what you will do all the way across. Oops, I missed that one. Go through the bars, through the vertical bars. I don't know why I want to keep calling them bras today. Who knows? You know, sometimes you get some weird stuff going on in your head. This morning I had my first ukulele class, and I enjoyed it immensely. Now initially, when we had called about this, it was a grant through the one of the Center County senior centers, and initially they didn't have enough people, and they re-advertised it, and we were the first 3 that called from the Mill Hall Senior Center, and we were pretty thrilled. You know, we were excited. It wound up there were 26 people in this class. Some of the people brought ukuleles that they had bought a long time ago, had never used. They also had like 17 that they brought with them because they do teach ukulele, guitar, those kind of things. And they also sing. They have a Facebook group called Simple Gifts Music. But they really got us going, and they told us the difference between adults and kids learning, and it was just a lot of fun. The fellow next door to me is actually a neighbor. So we had a couple of good talks, and he was a younger fellow, probably about 23. And he said, I had no idea you were interested in the ukulele. And I said, I had no idea that you had one sitting over there for over a year. So we had a good talk, and, get to know each other a little better. Now the return pass is pretty much the same. You're going to yarn over, go through 1, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2. Didn't go through 2, did I? Make sure you go through the 2. Yarn over, go through 2, 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 yarn over and go through 2, yarn over. Like I said, it's pretty rhythmic. Yarn over, go through 2. And I've got my yarn all tangled up over here. There we go. Yarn over, go through 2. Yarn over, go through 2. Yarn over, go through 2. Yarn over and go through 2. Now we're going to repeat that again. And like I said, you don't go through this first one because that's already a stitch on there. You're going to go through the next one. And if you have to, pull them apart so you can see it. But you're going to go through the front all the way to the back, between the 2 vertical bars, under the horizontal bar, and pull up a loop. And you're going to repeat that all the way to the end. And if at any time you are unsure of whether you're doing it right, you might want to count your stitches, when you get to the other end. Now I'm going to pause this and get to the other end, and then do my return pass as usual. And let's do that for 4 rows. Just repeat that for 4 rows, and then we'll join up again. And hopefully you've got your 4 or 5 rows, whatever you chose to do. And you can see it actually looks like a knit fabric. Now, of course, there is a reverse to this. I told you for every one of these stitches there's a reverse. And the reverse is pretty much the same thing, except you are going to go from the back to the front, pull up a loop, back to the front, pull up a loop, back to front, pull up a loop, back to front, pull up a loop. And this is where I think you're going to see that if you leave your loops down here, you're going to have a problem. So generally they teach you to pull your loop up. Don't be afraid to pull it up. And that's going to be real important when we get to the full stitch. Like I said, it has same thing, going through the vertical bars under the horizontal, pick up those stitches through the back, into the front, through the back, pick up the loop, through the back, pick up the loop, through the back, pick up a loop, pick up your loop, and then of course when you get to that last stitch, you are going to go through the back, remembering to go through the 2, pick up a loop. Now your return pass is the same thing. Oh boy, I always twist that when I do it that way. Your return pass is basically the same thing. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, but only yarn over 1 strand, pull through 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, get under there. There we go. And through 2. And what you'll notice is that actually brings the stitch to the front that mimics a garter stitch. But if you turn over your knit stitches, you have a garter stitch on the back, and then if you would alternate, you'll see an interesting pattern that comes up. So I would suggest that you start to play and alternate with that for a couple of times. Now I'm not going to do that today. We're going to move on to the full stitch. And the full stitch is a little different. If we were to do a knit stitch, we would actually go back into this through the bars, because you're going to bring that forward so you can see what you're doing. But for the full stitch, you're actually not going to go through the vertical bars. You're going to go under the horizontal bars. But it is also a 2-row repeat. And you can go under here and pick up your stitch and start there. But it's kind of an odd stitch when you start the first row. Generally, I skip this one and I start here. And you're going to pull up and pull up. You want to pull them up good and high. Go under the horizontal bar between the 2 stitches. And you're not going through the 2 vertical bars now, but you're going between the 4 legs. You have 2 back and 2 front. So you're going to go under, like you're going under a bridge. Pull up those stitches. Did I get that right? And these rows, you may want to count, and I will show you why. Well, my phone cut out on me, so I'm going to start over on this. The full stitch actually is a 2-row repeat. you'll do one row one way and one row the next. Now, with the knit stitch, we went through the vertical bars, both bars front and back, and under the horizontal. For the full stitch, you are simply going to go under the horizontal bar. Now you can start either on this side or this side. And there's a reason I tell you which other, one side or the other, because the return pass uses the other side. Now, I don't like going under this one because I think it makes it funny when I first start. But you can certainly go to the right of the stitch and pick up the stitch and use that. But I always go over to the left side of this stitch. And you're going to start picking up by putting your hook underneath the horizontal bar, pulling up a loop, and you want to pull it up high. You don't want to pull it and just bring it there. This one you want to pull up a little higher. This is also considered the mesh stitch, and you'll see why after we do a couple of rows. But continue to go under the horizontal bar and pick up those stitches. Now on the full stitch, I will tell you, it is probably a good idea to count your stitches because of the way that the two rows are done. They're done differently. It's in every other row to make this stitch pattern. And so we're going to continue up until we get to this last one. And you're going to count. Now remember, I have 20 stitches because I restarted mine due to some issues. You may have 21 if you started with the 21 that I originally did, and that's fine. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. And we do go under the bar for 19. And then you're going to go through the 2 on the end to make your 20 stitch. In this case, return pass is exactly the same. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, 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 and we're going to do that all the way to the end. And I apologize for the shadows today. It is again cloudy. I do not have a way to put any extra light in here. I am actually in my living room, and the living room, the apartment we live in, has no overhead lighting. So I have just my one lamp today to help with that. Looks like I'll have to set up a second lamp for future. Now, on this second row, when we pick up stitches, we are going to pick the first stitch up here. Now remember, on the other one, we went to the other side. This one we're going to pick up this stitch first. Then we're going to go in between, pick up the next stitch, and you're going to continue that, and you're just going under the horizontal bars. Now as you get down here, you want to double check to make sure you haven't added any stitches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19. You're not going to go under any more bars. You are now going to go directly into this, those 2 last stitches, yarn over, pull up a loop. So now you're going to yarn over, pull through 1, and it is the same return pass all the way back. Now when you start the next row for this, you will not go under here, you'll go on this side. And the reason being is if you go back into that same one, you're actually going to start increasing this way. Same way if you go into this one and then also go on that other end and go under the bar right before the last 2. It'll increase the other way, like that. So let's do another row of the mesh, and maybe you'll be able to see why it's called the mesh stitch. And we're not going through the vertical bars, we're just going under that horizontal bar. At least now I finally got it in my head, it's a bar and not a bra. And you'll notice I'm keeping it very loosey-goosey. A lot of that is because of the way that I am around the camera, which I just haven't adjusted to. And we're going to double check on our count. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19. And then go through those 2 at the last. And turn pass is the same thing. Through 1, then 2. 2, 2, 2. And if you're hearing an extra noise that is clicking and you hear a little click or a bang, that is actually my cord hitting the table that I'm using, the table leg. I apologize for that. And there. And as you can see, it starts to form a little bit of a mesh stitch where it's every other stitch on each row. So you alternate those 2 rows for this pattern to get what is called the mesh stitch. I'm going to leave it there. Practice. do a little more, and yes, there is a reverse stitch, which, as you know by now, a reverse stitch, this one, since we went into this side, we would go this way, pull up a stitch, this way, pull up a stitch, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it forward. So like I said, continue, and you know, go back and forth between the front knit stitch, the back knit stitch, do some rows of the mesh stitch, and you know, just play with it. That's what this all is a practice piece to play. Okay, I will see you again next Tuesday, and we will move on to another couple of stitches. Okay, everybody, y'all have a great day, and see you later. Bye.